Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna. Welcome everyone to this session of Bhagavad Gita as it is. Today we'll be discussing slokas 40 and 41 from chapter 2. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tatho Jayamudiraye Nashtaprayeshu Bhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavati Uttama Shloke Bhaktir Bhavati Nishtaki Mukam Karoti Vachalam Pangum Lankhayate Girim Yat Kripatamaham Mande Sri.Govardhana Tarinam Paramananda Madhavam Sri Chaitanya Iswaram Namo Vishnupadaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Nityanamane Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauramani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschati Deshatarine Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shiva Sadi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram 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 Hare Hare. Today we are reading sloka number 40 followed by sloka number 41 of chapter 2. Sloka number 40 is Neha Bhikrama Nashosti Pratyavayo na vidyate Swalpamapyasya dharmasya Trayate Mahato Bhayat. Translation: in this endeavor there is no loss or diminution, and a little advancement on this path can protect one from the most dangerous type of fear. Purport by Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Activity in Krishna consciousness or acting for the benefit of Krishna without expectation of sense gratification is the highest transcendental quality of work. Even a small beginning of such activity finds no impediment, nor can that small beginning be lost at any stage. Any work begun on the material plane has to be completed. Otherwise, the whole attempt becomes a failure. But any work begun in Krishna consciousness has a permanent effect, even though not finished. The performer of such work is therefore not at a loss, even if his work in Krishna consciousness is incomplete. 1% done in Krishna consciousness bears permanent results, so that the next beginning is from the point of 2%. Whereas in material activity, without 100% success, there is no profit. Ajamila performed his duty in some percentage of Krishna consciousness, but the result he enjoyed at the end was 100% by the grace of the Lord. There is a nice verse in this connection in the Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 1, 5th chapter, 17th shloka. Tyaktva swadharmam charanam bhujam harer bhajanva pakkotha pathetyatho tatho yadi yatra kwa bhadram abhuda mushyakim kovarta apto bhajatam swadharmatah. If someone gives up his occupational duties and works in Krishna consciousness and then falls down on account of not completing his work, what loss is there on his part? And what can one gain if one performs his material duty perfectly? Or as the Christians say, what profiteth a man if he gain the whole world yet suffer the loss of his eternal soul? Material activities and their results end with the body, but work in Krishna consciousness carries a person again to Krishna consciousness even after the loss of the body. At least one is sure to have a chance in the next life of being born again as a human being, either in the family of a great cultured Brahmana or in a rich aristocratic family that will give one a further chance for elevation. This is the unique quality of work done in Krishna consciousness. Om Tat Sat. Om Jnanatimirandasya Jnananjanashalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Sri Guruve Namaha Mukam Karoti Vachalam Pangum Lankhayate Girim Yatkripatamaham Vande Sri Guru Dinatarinam Paramanandamathamam Sri Chaitanya Iswaram. So Hare Krishna, we are moving on to the 40th shloka of the second chapter of Bhagavad Gita, where Krishna is now instructing Arjuna on Buddhi Yoga. This is the beginning of Krishna's discussion of Buddhi Yoga, wherein he is talking about doing something that has permanent results. You see, permanent result is something that is not, what can we say? It is not something that we are used to in the material world. Because in the material world, any result that you get is temporary. Anything that you get in the material world is temporary. And that is also Krishna's point when he's speaking to Arjuna about why he should not worry about the body, why he should not lament for the body, etc., which we were discussing in the previous sessions. And now, in the 40th shloka, Krishna starts speaking about Buddhi Yoga, about fighting without reaction. This is the theme of fighting or doing action without reaction. You see, we study either in physics or in science or in the general terms, we speak about, every action there is reaction. And in physics, we study for every action there is equal and opposite reaction. Any of it is okay as long as they are all on the material platform. But on the spiritual platform, it is completely different. And how is it different? Prabhupada is explaining in the purport of this verse as to what is different between material actions and action in Krishna consciousness. Material action actually is giving you result, but results are temporary. Results will not last forever. But when you are doing something for Krishna, in this action, there is no loss or diminution. This is what Krishna is saying. Neha bhikramana sosti pratyavayo na vidyate swalpamapi asya dharmasya. So this dharma, and he's saying this dharma swalpamapi, that is even a little bit of service to Krishna that we do will actually help us from the biggest fear. It will deliver us, trayate. Trayate means to protect, to deliver. Kshatriya, kshat trayate iti kshatriya. One who is protecting, one who is saving from kshat, means any kind of difficulty. Kshata means injury. So that is Kshatriya. Here, Krishna is telling that Trayate Mahato Bhayat. That Mahato Bhaya. Among all Bhaya, the greatest Bhaya you will be saved from. Simply by doing Swalpamapi Asya Dharmasya. So, what is the greatest danger? The greatest danger is actually after this human form of life, after the human form of life, what if we glide down to a lower species of life? We are not thinking about these very important things. We are not thinking about these very important things. We are only thinking about this moment, because we are all taught that live in the moment, live for the moment. Yes, live for the moment in a way that you will secure your future moment. That is our principle of live for the moment. The materialist speaks about living for the moment, saying that you enjoy as much as possible. Enjoy as much as possible because you may die any moment. But for a student of Bhagavad Gita, he also understands that you may die at any moment. Life may come to an end at any moment. But are we prepared for that? Why is that? Because a student of the Bhagavad Gita, somebody who is interested in the science of spirituality, actually understands that this death is not the end of everything. It is actually it is like a semicolon. It's not a full stop. Looks like a full stop, but it continues. In a sentence, you have a semicolon and you have full stop. Full stop means sentence stops there, right? But no. As far as the soul is concerned, Krishna has already told Arjuna, in light of the previous verses, that the soul, has no death. That means what? That means there is life beyond death. There is life after death. And death also has been explained very clearly by Krishna, that it is Deha Antara Praptihi. Simply a change of body is called death. That's all there is to it. So, now Krishna is telling Arjuna, Swalpamapi Asya Dharmasya. If you do a little bit, it will actually save you from the greatest of fear. And for a living entity, actually, the greatest fear is death. For every living entity, the greatest fear is death. Because nobody has come back and told the tale of death. Nobody has come back to tell the tale of death. So, because of that, everybody is anxious. Everybody is anxious, everybody is scared, because don't know what will happen. And any material endeavor that you do also, what is the nature of that material endeavor? Nature of the material endeavor is that until it succeeds, there is no guarantee. Until it succeeds, there is no guarantee. Even when it succeeds, there is no guarantee that the success will endure. Even when there is success, there is no guarantee that the success will endure. So that is another kind of fear that a lot of people have. So All those things are fearful, but anything that you do in service to Krishna, actually, Krishna says here, there is no loss, there is no diminution. It means it is not lost, means it doesn't become zero. There is no diminution, meaning 2 does not become 1, 50 does not become 40. There is no depreciation. In material world, everything depreciates over time. Some things depreciate very quickly. Depreciation is not just if there is any accountant here, they would immediately know what is depreciation. Depreciation means diminishing value is depreciation. You can also call it the opposite of appreciation. So depreciation is something that everybody can very easily identify with. Why? Because everything that we do today is appreciated probably for today and tomorrow. Day after tomorrow, there is no guarantee that the appreciation will continue. So there is, whatever we do, there is depreciation. Whatever great building we build, it depreciates over time. Means it starts, diminishing over time. It may be diminishing 1 grain at a moment, but still diminishing is going on. But Krishna is saying, if you are doing something for me, swalpamapi asya dharmasya, this endeavor that you are undertaking. What is this endeavor? Endeavor is, in Arjuna's case, the obvious endeavor is to engage in war simply on Krishna's instruction. And what does Krishna say? He says, if you do that without any expectation of sense gratification, we do what we have to do, not expecting that, oh, because of this, I will get some happiness. Like that. But if some happiness comes by the way, we are neither averse to it nor addicted to it. So this is actually the perfect way to engage in activities in the material world. And eventually that will help. And when that is done for Krishna, even if it is not complete, even if it is not perfect, still Krishna will take that into account. And Srila Prabhupada, in the purport, he is quoting the history of Ajamila. The history of Ajamila in the Srimad Bhagavatam is very, very famous. Ajamila was this Brahmana who actually did something, something very little as a young boy. He was a Brahmana who was trained properly in Brahmanical way. And at that time, he had performed some good activities. Some proper Brahmana dharma he had done. And then actually he fell down to a condition where he got married. He got attracted by a prostitute. He got married to her. He became a dacoit, complete, what shall we say, complete fall down. His life became very horrible. But as we all know, towards the end of his life, the last son whom he had, at his old age, still his lust was so much. And he had a son, and he's just named him Narayana. And simply, although he called his son Narayana, but he was awarded by the Supreme Lord. What? Not immediate moksha. When he called the name Narayana, the Vishnudutas came and they warded off the Yamadutas, giving Ajamila a second chance. Actually, Ajamila is a perfect example of one who got a second chance. And devotees who come across Vaishnavas, people who come across Vaishnavas and become or aspire to become Vaishnavas, we must all understand that this is actually our second chance. You know, all people who are listening to this, we must understand that we are all fortunate we have got our second chance. And using this chance, we can actually become free from the greatest of fear, which is the fear of death. And what is Amaratva? Amaratva means conquering death. And what is actually conquering death? Conquering death at the first level is to conquer the fear of death. And how do you conquer the fear of death? By understanding exactly what this whole thing is all about. And that is the fundamental teaching of the Bhagavad Gita. Bhagavad Gita teaching is starting from that level. You know, you are not this body, you are the soul and you are eternal. What you are seeing as birth and death is something that is happening in the material world according to your desires and your actions and reactions. So, Dehabhikramana sosti pratyavayo na vidyate swalpamapi asya dharmasya. Ajamila did swalpamapi. Some dharma he did before he actually became enamored by the prostitute. And then some little dharma he did simply by calling out the name Narayana. So, the name of the Lord is glorified because Ajamila simply called the Lord's name and he reciprocated. That is what we say. Even if we do something very little, Krishna is acknowledging. You see, is it that Narayana did not know that this man is calling only his son? The Lord, is Paramatma. He knows everything. He is omnipresent, omnipotent, all-knowing. So when Ajamila called his son Narayana, the Supreme Lord also knew that Ajamila is calling his son Narayana. But why did he choose to send the Vishnudutas? That is a pertinent question. Because the Lord wanted to show his mercy. Lord wanted to establish this as an irrevocable fact that anybody take my name and I will be there to help you. So the Lord doesn't believe in simply speaking like a politician, making some empty promises. Rather, the Lord will teach us by actually being there for his devotee. Actually, being there for his devotee, the Lord proves time and again. Through history, we will find that he is always there, ready to take care whenever it is required. So he is now giving that assurance to Arjuna that very little also, if it is done, I will accept it. And he will not accept it as very little. He will actually accept it as very much. He will accept it. He will multiply it and he will accept it. Although he knows it is very little. Like in the Ajamila's case, although he knew that he was not calling the Lord, Lord said, no, I will take it as he has called me. And who can question the Lord? Right? Who can question the Lord? If the Lord wants to, you and I, we call Narayana. And if the Lord decides to say that, okay, so and so is called, maybe out of mistake, but I decide that he has called me, so be it. Because it is the Lord who is the ultimate authority. So that ultimate authority, Krishna, is telling Arjuna here that anybody does swalpamapi asya dharmasya, they will be saved from the greatest of fear. And the Lord continues to speak in the 41st shloka. Vyavasayatmika buddhir ekeha kurunandana bahushakhahyanantascha buddhayo avyavasayinam. Those who are on this path are resolute in purpose, and their aim is one. O beloved child of the Kurus, the intelligence of those who are irresolute is many branched. Srila Prabhupada says in the purport, a strong faith that by Krishna consciousness one will be elevated to the highest perfection of life is called Vyavasayatmika intelligence. The Chaitanya Charitamrita Madhyalila 22nd chapter, 62nd verse states, Shraddha Shabde Vishwasa Kahe Sudrida Nishchaya Krishne Bhakti Kaile Sarva Karma Kritahaya. Faith means unflinching trust in something sublime. When one is engaged in the duties of Krishna consciousness, he need not act in relationship to the material world with obligations to family traditions, humanity, or nationality. Fruitive activities are the engagements of one's reactions from past good or bad deeds. When one is awake in Krishna consciousness, he need no longer endeavor for good results in his activities. When one is situated in Krishna consciousness, all activities are on the absolute plane, for they are no longer subject to dualities like good and bad. The highest perfection of Krishna consciousness is the renunciation of the material conception of life. This state is automatically achieved by progressive Krishna consciousness. The resolute purpose of a person in Krishna consciousness is based on knowledge. Vasudeva Sarvamiti Samahatma Sudurlabhaha. A person in Krishna consciousness is a rare good soul who knows perfectly that Vasudeva or Krishna is the root of all manifested causes. As by watering the root of a tree, one automatically distributes water to the leaves and branches. So by acting in Krishna consciousness, one can render the highest service to everyone, namely self, family, society, country, humanity, etc. If Krishna is satisfied by one's actions, then everyone will be satisfied. Service in Krishna consciousness is, however, best practice under the able guidance of a spiritual master who is a bona fide representative of Krishna, who knows the nature of the student and who can guide him to act in Krishna consciousness. As such, to be well versed in Krishna consciousness, one has to act firmly and obey the representative of Krishna, and one should accept the instruction of the bona fide spiritual master as one's mission in life. Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur instructs us in his famous prayers for the spiritual master as follows: Yasya prasadat Bhagavad prasado yasya aprasadanna gati kuto api dhyayan stuvam stasya yashastri sandhyam vande guru Sri Charanarvindam. By the satisfaction of the spiritual master, the Supreme Personality of God had become satisfied. And by not satisfying the spiritual master, there is no chance of being promoted to the plane of Krishna consciousness. I should therefore meditate and pray for his mercy 3 times a day and offer my respectful obeisances unto him, my spiritual master. The whole process, however, depends on perfect knowledge of the soul beyond the conception of the body, not theoretically but practically, when there is no longer a chance for sense gratification manifested in fruitive activities. One who is not firmly fixed in mind is diverted by various types of fruitive acts. Vyavasayatmika buddhihi ekeha kurunandana bahushakhahi anantascha buddhir avyavasayina. So this is a very important shloka for all of us. Why? Because this shloka actually speaks about the secret of success in Krishna consciousness. People who want to take up Krishna consciousness, people who want to follow Krishna consciousness, people who are practicing Krishna consciousness, people generally practicing any spirituality would gain a lot from this shloka of the Bhagavad Gita. That Vyavasayatmika buddhihi means there is a single point determination. That is what is indicated by this word Vyavasayatmika Buddhi. That the Buddhi or the intelligence is focused only on one thing. It is focused only on one thing. So only when Buddhi is focused on that one thing, you will be able to achieve that thing. When Arjuna was about to shoot the arrow into the eye of the bird, which was moving by simply looking at its reflection in the water, Arjuna could see actually only that eye of the bird. This is called single point determination. This is single pointed determination. So, to practice Krishna consciousness nicely, to practice bhakti nicely, to take up spirituality, spiritual life in a positive manner, this Vyavasayatmika Buddhi is a very, very important point. And it gets all the more important for followers of Srila Prabhupada in ISKCON, because Srila Prabhupada actually said that this was the verse, and its commentary by Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, that Prabhupada decided that I should take up my Guru's instruction and spread this all over the world. That Prabhupada got so impacted by this word Vyavasayatmika Buddhi. So this is a verse that has actually, Prabhupada himself says that this is the one verse that actually impelled him, to go abroad, to preach, and to make all these things, all these wonderful things. So that is one great thing. The other thing is this single-pointed determination of any sadhaka, any person who is trying, that is very, very important. It is always very easy to lose focus. It is always very easy to lose focus. And when we speak about losing focus, when we speak about intelligence becoming many branched, we will always think that it could be some impediment. It could be some impediment, which is what always we are thinking, there will be some kind of impediment, something will, put a roadblock on the way. And this can be of many kinds. If our intelligence is not single pointed, some things that, we spend our intelligence on some other thing that may actually look favorable but may not be favorable. You see? That is why it is always said that single pointed concentration is required. That is why Prabhupada speaks about always chanting Krishna's name, speaking about Krishna, hearing about Krishna, and thinking of Krishna. Single-pointed 1% concentration. Simply focus is only Krishna. Speak Krishna, hear Krishna, chant Krishna, think Krishna. Nityananda Prabhu, this was what he was saying, Nadiya Godrume Nityananda Mahajan. Patyache Namahatta Jivere Karan. What did he say? Bolo Krishna, Bhaja Krishna, Koro Krishna Bhakti. This is what Nityananda Prabhu said. Bolo Krishna, speak Krishna, Krishna, Krishna. Keep on saying. Bhaja Krishna. Worship Krishna, Koro Krishna Bhakti. Always be engaged in Krishna Bhakti. Because single-pointed determination will actually give us success. And It also means that when I am engaged in serving Krishna, I should know that I have no other obligation in the material world. I should also realize that I will no longer endeavor for fruitive things, because Krishna consciousness is something beyond fruitive action. Krishna consciousness or service to Krishna is not done as something for which we will get some great result, material result, not at all. It is on the absolute platform. It is meant for the pleasure of Krishna. It will always remain like that. And by this Vyavasayatmika Buddhi only, we will actually be able to give up this material conception of life. Material conception of life can be renounced only through this Vyavasayatmika Buddhi, or this one-pointed intelligence about practicing Krishna Bhakti. And that renunciation, Prabhupada says, can be achieved automatically by progressing in Krishna consciousness. We don't have to see, the great thing about Krishna consciousness is that we don't have to separately endeavor to renounce. Automatically, renunciation happens. We are not renouncing anything. The more I become attached to Krishna, the more automatically I'll become renounced from material things. It will happen automatically. So we don't have to put a separate effort, or we don't have to do something artificial to renounce. And what is the foundation of this whole resolute determination? We must know that resolute determination actually comes out of the knowledge of the soul. Knowledge of the soul and knowledge of Krishna. When we know these two, who am I? I am the soul. And who is Krishna? He is my eternal master. When I know these two things, automatically determination will become resolute. And then Prabhupada writes in the purport, just like watering the root of a plant, the entire plant is nourished. Yatha tarormula nishechanena. This is the sloka from the Sri.Govardhana. That just like watering the root of a tree, simply by doing service for Krishna, simply by pleasing Krishna, the entire creation is pleased. The entire prapancha is pleased if you simply act for the pleasure of Krishna. Yasmin tushte jagat tushtam. He who, when made happy, the entire creation becomes happy. And what are we trying to do? We are trying to become happy independent of Krishna. Whereas Shastra is giving us the clue that if you actually do something for the pleasure of Krishna, if you actually do something to make Krishna happy, automatically the entire creation becomes happy. That is how the system works. And we will also work according to the system when we understand this fundamental fact that Krishna is to be served, and when Krishna becomes happy, everybody becomes happy. So now the other counter question that will always arise is that, why should I do something for Krishna's happiness? I might as well make myself happy. Why should I make Krishna happy? Why should I become the servant? The answer for that is, Srila Prabhupada says, anyway you are servant. Anyway you are a servant. Are you not? We are servant of our senses. That is why we are called Godasa. Servant of our senses. We are always serving our senses, which are like, very, very thankless masters our senses are. You keep on trying to please the senses, and they are never pleased. Keep on asking for more, 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 you know. And impelled by these masters who are senses, who are thankless, who are like serpents, who can never be pleased, impelled by them, the living entity inside the material body, which is why it's called Dehi, he will go and approach all the devatas and anybody and everybody, keeps on saying, Dehi me, Dehi me, Dehi me, give me, give me, give me. You know, simply by doing this Dehi me, Dehi me, Dehi me business, we remain Dehi. We remain in this material body, one body after another. Why? Because we are serving the senses. We are servant of these senses. And in order to be the good servant of the senses, we choose to serve everybody. Simply to please the senses, the indriyas. And for that, we require so many material facilities. So in order for that, something is required. In order for that, we have to serve somebody. So Prabhupada very clearly points it out that you decide for yourself whether you need to serve all these lowly beings and then your senses, or you want to serve the ultimate master of everybody. Which servant is better? You know, it is like, anyway, if you are a dog, might as well be the emperor's dog. No? Why do you want to be the bhikari's dog? Why do you want to be the homeless man's dog? Anyway, if it is if it is decided and established that you have to be dog, might as well be the emperor's dog. So it is better for you, better for us to be Krishna's dog than be the dog of anybody else. Than be the dog of anybody else. So it is better to serve Krishna, Vivasayatmika Buddhi, rather than serving Bahushakhahi Anantascha. Rather than serving all these people, and ultimately nobody is happy. It is like the typical expatriate dilemma. If you are an expatriate, many of you are, so you will be very easily able to identify this. When you go on vacation back to your hometown, you want to make everybody happy, all your relatives, all your friends, all your neighbors. So you will keep on getting gifts for them, And for you, it is a great task. You are buying gift for 30, 40 people. But when you go and give it, each one is getting only a small thing. So what happens? You did so much, you took so much effort, tried to please 40 people. And by the time you go on vacation and come back, you will realize that none of the 40 were pleased. Right? These are all, in this lifetime, we have had experience. We are going through all these things. So, Bahushakhahi Anantasya Buddhir Avyavasayinam. If we engage our intelligence, in all the various directions, getting enamored, by all the various things that are here, there, everywhere. And eventually what will happen? Simply we will be lamenting only, become attracted to all the things in the material world, just like a child who goes to a fair and there are so many shops. He keeps looking at this shop, that shop, this shop, that shop, runs from one shop to the next. And eventually he'll realize that he's got lost in the mela. The father is not to be found. Then what he does? He cries, he laments, So we are like that. We are enamored, we are serving the senses. They are very bad yajamanas. They keep on taking us to task, and we are never happy and they are never happy. But in contrast, look at Krishna. In contrast, look at Krishna, how merciful he is. And even if we do something very little, Krishna says, I'll take it. And you do the rest later. Next time also you continue to do. There is no loss. There is no loss, no diminution. Shuchinam Srimatam Gehe Yoko Nashta Parantapa. Because even though Krishna says it here, later on in Bhagavad Gita, again Arjuna will ask the same doubt and Krishna will answer. He will say, yes, you will get Shuchinam Srimatam Gehe. You will get a good family. You will get an aristocratic family where you will be born there and you will be able to continue. Yogo Nashta. So even if you are a Nashta yogi in this lifetime, that does not mean that you should become an unsuccessful transcendentalist in this lifetime. We should all try to complete this cycle of birth and death with this body only. But even if for some remote reason we are unable to become successful, Krishna is giving us the assurance, don't worry. Don't worry. You can start from where you stopped. And the only thing we require for that is Vyavasayatmika Buddhihi, single pointed intelligence. So we should not be engaging our intelligence, in so many different things, trying to become, When we say so many different things, it also includes not only just material things, it also includes all kinds of conflicting philosophies. We need not spend our intelligence in so many conflicting philosophies. Because at the end of the day, what will that do? It will simply confuse us. And what is the result of that? Vyavasayatmika buddhi is lost. So resolute means resolute in purpose. Using my intelligence until I will continue with this single pointed determination until I reach my destination. This is Vyavasayatmika buddhi. One perfect example we can find of Vyavasayatmika buddhi is Sri Hanuman. Hanuman's leap to Lanka is a perfect example of Vyavasayatmika buddhi. Acharyas, while they explain Hanuman's travel across the ocean to Lanka, he's jumping on top of Mahendra Parvata, and from there, one leap, and in that one leap, he is supposed to reach Lanka. But what happens? On the way, he has impediments, both positive, negative, and one impediment that actually tests him, So there is this great demoness, who wants to kill Hanuman. And then there is this great Mainaka Parvata who offers, take little rest and then go. And then there is Surasa. She's testing, you see. And when it is friendly, Hanuman, with great respect and reverence, he will tell Mainaka that, sorry, I am on my master's journey. I am on my way to complete something for my master. So rest, no. No, thank you. We say no thanks, but no thanks. This is what Hanuman tells Mainaka. Right? And when he sees the demoness, what will he do? Very intelligently, he will enter her and he will increase in size, kill her and come out. For Nagamata, he knows that she is there to test him. So he will simply enter her mouth come out and do pranam and be on his way. So, vyavasayatmika buddhi. If we were taking an arduous journey like Hanuman, wherever anybody gave us any stop, we will very happily accept the stop, take rest. And wherever there is no scheduled stop also, we will stop and take rest before we reach destination. That is why that is only called buddhir avyavasayina. So the travel becomes more important than the destination. But look at Hanuman, the longest leap in the history of the universe continues to be the longest. Nobody has, nacha bhuto na bhavishyati, such a leap. Nobody has done it before, nobody will do it again. It's like that. And vyavasayatmika buddhi. He knew that I have to land in Lanka and nothing will stop me. And it is not out of his prowess, not that Hanuman is very proud of his strength. No, with my strength I shall leap. No hint of ahankara in Hanuman's determination. It is simply for the pleasure of his master Ramachandra. Because my Lord is waiting for news of Sita Mata, I must go to Lanka. I must find Sita. I must return. So the jump across the ocean is only one part of Hanuman's Vyavasayatmika Buddhi. That whole journey, going and coming back until he comes and reports to Lord Ramachandra. When we read through Ramayana of Vatmiki, we will understand several instances of how Hanuman employs his Vyavasayatmika Buddhi. And that kind of resolute, one-pointed intelligence is what is required to become successful. And Krishna says that is the best thing. And Prabhupada writes in the purport that it should be done under the instruction of a spiritual master or a guru, because a guru will actually know about his disciple and he will be able to guide him accordingly. So these are the important takeaways from Shloka 40 and 41. Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Bhagavad Gita Grantharaj ki jai. All participants can unmute themselves and ask questions.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu.
Let me start first.
Yes, Prabhu.